So, you have learned to play a little guitar, but you want to learn how to solo. Well, this is the correct video series for you, because in this series we are going to learn how to solo over almost anything. I say almost because there's always going to be weird stuff, always going to be funky chord progressions that require you to know a lot more about music in order to successfully solo over them. But for the majority of the music that is actually listened to by the population, so rock music, country music, pop music, R&B music, even rap music, things like that, the stuff that's really on the radio, for the vast majority of it, you're going to use the exact same system over all of it. So that's what we're going to do in this series. Now, the goal of this video series is to get you playing, to get you started soloing on top of chord progressions and songs and stuff. You aren't going to really know what you're doing. You're not going to know why these notes work and why these notes don't work and why you're playing these notes and not these notes. That's not the goal of this series. The goal is to get you to start playing and to start getting these notes and these patterns under your fingers. You will eventually need to know why this stuff sounds good. So you will eventually need to learn some theory, learn why these notes work together and why other notes don't work. But in the meantime, I just want to get you guys playing, get you guys soloing, get you guys improvising, making your own music on top of standard chord progressions. That's the idea. While you're doing this, you're going to encounter some stuff that's weird. You're not really going to know what's going on. That's going to happen a lot, and that's okay, because I'm not here to teach you the ins and outs of every chord progression that's ever been written, ever. The goal here is to get you playing. So with that in mind, let's get started. First, we are going to learn a scale. We have to learn a scale. What is a scale? Well, for those of you who don't know, we're going to say that a scale is a sequence of notes that serves like a certain purpose or something like that. That's going to be our working definition of scale. Now, this is the A minor scale. We're going to learn the A minor scale. You don't know what that means right now. You don't have to know what that means right now. I just want to get this shape, this concept under your fingers. Just for the record, the little string down here, we're going to call that the first string. The big thick string up here, we're going to call that the sixth string. Your index finger, that's going to be your first finger. Your pinky is going to be your fourth finger, okay? For those of you with piano background, they start on the thumb as the first finger, so that might be confusing. And some people in guitar do the strings differently. So I wanted to clarify that. For the A minor scale, you're going to take your first finger, put it on the fifth fret of the sixth string. That's the big one. And we get this note right here. Then you're going to take your third finger, put it on the seventh fret of the same string. And then you're going to take your fourth finger and put it on the eighth fret of the same string. So we get this. Da, da, da. Now we're going to keep going. We're going to go down to the fifth string, and we're going to do the exact same frets with the exact same fingers. So the first finger on the fifth fret, the third finger on the seventh fret, the fourth finger on the eighth fret. So those are exactly the same. So we get this. On the fifth string, when you play them together, you get this. Notice my hand isn't moving at all. Now we're going to move on to the fourth string, and we're going to play the fifth and seventh frets with our first and third fingers. So first finger, fifth fret, third finger, seventh fret. So it's almost the same as the other two, but you take off the third note. You just play the first two frets. So on the D string, we get this. And all together, we get this. Of course, you might not be able to play it that fast yet. That's okay. Now we're going to the third string. For the third string, we are going to have to move our hand back one fret, because the first finger is going to play the fourth fret on the third string. That's this note. So there is a movement of the hand to get back there. So you have first finger, fourth fret, third string. Second finger, fifth fret, same string. Fourth finger, seventh fret. Obviously the same string. So we get 4, 5, 7 on the third string with our first, second, and fourth fingers. So that sounds like this. And all together from the top, we get this. Now we are going to go up to the second string, which is actually going to be the same kind of shape. So first finger, second finger, third finger. But it's going to start on the fifth fret. So we're going to have to slide our hand back up to where the first finger hits the fifth fret, and we're gonna go 5, 6, 8 in terms of frets on the second string. Fifth fret, sixth fret, eighth fret on the second string. That's going to be first finger, second finger, fourth finger, like that. So that sounds like that, and then all together we have this. I'm going to play this slowly later, so don't worry if you can't keep up right now. And then we go down to the first string, and the first string is the same as the 6th string. So on the 6th string, we did the 5th, 7th, and 8th frets. We're going to do the same thing on the first string, 5, 7, and 8 in terms of frets. The fingers are going to be 1, 3, and 4. So those are exactly the same. So that sounds like this. And now the whole scale, I'm going to play it first slowly and then quickly. This is the whole scale. There are no more strings coming. We're out of strings. So this is slowly. And this is a little quicker. That, my friends, is your A minor scale, and you're going to want to memorize that and be able to play through it very fluently, very quickly, very, very easily, fluidly. And you're going to want to not just know it from the low string to the high string. You're going to want to know it from the high string to the low string as well. So I would suggest, as you practice this, to play all the way up, and then play all the way back down. Just do the same thing in reverse. And there's actually benefit to starting from the top. So if you want, you can start from the top, do it backwards, and then go back up. That's because normally when you're soloing, you don't spend all your time down here on the low notes. You use stuff up here on the high notes. So it's good practice to be able to start there and not just end there. So to solo, you literally just take these notes and you start messing around with them and start playing with them and start constructing lines and just trying to make stuff that sounds good. So, for example, I'm literally just making this up as I go right now. I could play the 8th fret on the first string and then the 7th fret, and then go to the 2nd string and play the 8th fret, and then play the 5th fret on the first string. That would sound like this. Right? That was kind of cool, right? Or I could do that and then go like, I don't know. That was on the 2nd string, 5, 6, 5, and then 7th fret on the 3rd string, and then that 5, 6, 5 again on the 2nd string, but then the 5th fret on the 3rd string. String all those together, that would sound like this. Right? All I did was take notes from the A major scale and just toy with them and mess around with them, and that's how we create solos. It's literally that easy. But this particular scale is an A minor scale, so you're going to use it to play on top of music that is in the key of A minor. You might not know what that means. You don't have to know what that means. But if you go on YouTube or Google or something and type in like backing tracks in A minor, enter, a bazillion things will come up, and it'll say like hard rock in A minor, slow rock in A minor, whatever, blues in A minor, whatever. You can use these notes to solo over those tracks, and I'm going to give you an example right now. So this is a very simple track that I made, and I'm just going to use all those notes that I just showed you guys to solo with. So that's going to look a little something like this. 2, 3. So that is how this works. You take these notes and you put them together and you start messing around with them, and you eventually come up with some really cool stuff. And we like to call that stuff improvisation or soloing. And you might say to me, it's not that easy, it's not that easy. Well, of course your solos are not going to sound like what I just did if you're just starting out, because you're brand new. But I promise you, if you just start doodling with these notes and trying to come up with stuff that sounds good and trying to find ways to work all the notes in and trying to see, what works and what doesn't, I promise you, if you do this every day for a really long time, then after a really long time, you will sound something like what I just did. But before we go, there's one more concept that I need to cover with you guys, and that is the concept of root notes. What do I mean by root notes? Well, once again, you might not necessarily understand what I'm talking about. You might not understand the concept, the theoretical basis behind it. But we're in the key of A minor, and because we are in the key of A minor, the A note is the root note. It is kind of the home base from which the rest of the notes kind of derive their meaning. I don't know, that probably didn't make any sense in music or anything else. So because this is an A minor scale, the root note of the scale is A. Thus, when you're playing this scale and you play an A, the A kind of sounds like, oh, I don't know, home, like resolution. Like that's where you can kind of stay and everything. Let me just explain this like this. So we're playing that da right there. If I end with that note, it's like, yes, completion. Finished. If I end with another note, I could say like, you kind of left in the air, but if I go like that, it's like, okay, we're finished. These root notes, as far for our purposes right now, there's a lot more music theory behind this, but for our purposes right now, these root notes will kind of serve as like periods. So you're constructing sentences, and then you put a period on the end of your sentence, and you're like, that's it. I am done with that musical phrase. That's how we're going to think about these. So for the A minor scale that we learned today, our root notes are going to be the first one, the 5th fret of the 6th string, the 7th fret of the 4th string. So we have this note and this note. That's the first note. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the 8th note. So first note, 8th note. And then the 5th fret of the 1st string. Those are all A's, so those all function as root notes. So there are 3 root notes within this scale. This one, 5th fret, 6th string. This one, 7th fret, 4th string. This one, 5th fret, 1st string. So those are all your root notes. So we're going to bring back that little loop that I made in A minor, and we're going to solo over it. And I'm going to try to let you know when I'm playing the root, when I'm like ending the phrase, when I'm putting a period on the sentence, so you can kind of get a feel for how that works. Then I'm going to stop playing, and the loop is just going to keep going. So then you guys can practice on top of that loop. So that lick that I showed you guys earlier ends on the root note, and you can hear how it just kind of has that resolution to it. Right? The other lick that I showed you guys, this one, does not end on the root note, and it does kind of leave you hanging. So I'm going to do it again, and then add something to the end of it to land on a root note. There's your root note. Resolution. I'm going to keep going. There's a root note. There's another root note. The things that I'm playing right here are kind of simple, but I'm trying to do stuff that you guys will understand. There's a root note. There's another root note. Well, I think you guys get the point, so I am going to head out, but this track is going to keep playing, so you guys can practice soloing on top of it. Remember to land on your root notes as kind of periods on your sentences. If you like this video, make sure you like it. You can, if you have any questions, you can leave your questions in the comments below, and I'll try to respond to all of them. If you want to see future videos like this, you can subscribe, you can turn on notifications, and I will see you guys in the next video.